question about the difference between boundaries and being loving, because sometimes we do have to protect ourselves. How do we know where that is, where that line is?
Could you repeat the question,
The
Christine?
question is about boundaries and love. Because sometimes we do have to protect ourselves, and so how do we do that in a focus of loving? So that does take us into that very complex line, which is our only true need is to love and to be loved. So another human being's only true need is to love and to be loved. So when we create boundaries with people that encompass and have this, the possibility that they will create love as their core, they are valuable, they are appropriate boundaries, and they always work. So, for example, a lot of people will say, I don't know how to set boundaries, they'll say to me, and they'll try a different boundaries with different people. They're kind of like reacting to every person's behavior. But instead of reacting to all the dysfunctional behavior, because there's all kinds of dysfunctional ways in which we can act, we're, complex beings. If we just hold a definition from which we set all boundaries within, then we have something workable across the board, right? So my boundaries with people are that I want to meet all their needs and I don't want to cause them any harm and so on. But my boundaries also contain the line, their only true need is to love and to be loved. So if I'm working with somebody who is abusive towards me in a family situation, and I have had to do this in my personal life, where I had to decide I was going to set boundaries. So what I did was I sat with this and I realized that, first of all, my needs were not being met. I was being harmed, but so their needs weren't being met either because they were not being loving to me, which was harmful to them. So the truth is they had to quit. Now, I couldn't go in there and in an unloving way say, listen, you're being a whatever and blah, blah. I had to create a scenario that they could move into love, right? Whether or not they would take it. So the message that came through to me was to say to the person who was harming me, I love you very much because you're my parent, but when you treat me in such and such a way, I do not feel loved. And I need to know that you're going to stop doing this to me because it's hurtful and because I've asked you to. I need to know if you are. Because if you are able to stop doing this, I would like us to continue to have a loving relationship and to come to know each other and to get along in a more truthful way. But if you can't, I can't be here. I will know what your decision is by how you behave towards me. So I actually laid it out that clearly. I actually had that conversation. And the person said to me that they would stop doing what they were doing, and they did it again. And I said, that means nothing. You can say anything you want to me. You can say anything you want. I'm 18 feet tall. Did you see that? I can say anything I want. It's not necessarily true. So their actions was what love does. And so I am not in communication with that person. However, I left the door open to say, I have spoken my piece very clearly, very lovingly, I love you. If you can come back into my life and not do this, I will be joyful. Anytime you're ready. Right? It's been very effective. It's been very, very effective. And has led to reconciliation on loving terms. It allowed that person to see where they needed to shift. And it's allowed that person to experience feeling good, because they feel good about the relationship with me now. They did experience a lot of growth. And when they were ready to make that step, they were greeted with unconditional love. I'm so glad that we're able to do this. It was not like, yeah, well, those 9 years, it wasn't like that. I'm done with it. We're done with it. I had to make that decision. That person was not capable of making that decision. I was. I had the information. So I took the step, right? They stepped up to the plate later, but sometimes people don't step up to the plate. But as long as we're phrasing it in a way that allows love to grow, it is a beautiful boundary that will serve much growth, our own and other people's, because certainly people are growing hearing the story, right? Even if that story didn't have a happy ending, we'd all grow understanding that story. So it is creating more love.
So basically, instead of every relationship that you're in creating all of these boundaries, like won't deal with lying, I won't deal with this, you just say the things to every single relationship you have.
Of course.
And it's basically your own boundaries, because those are the things that you do to them, right?
That's right. So
It's
to me,
easier
this
to
is like
remember.
laying the cornerstones, right? So now I know that every decision I'm going to make is based on that. So today somebody's lying to me. Let me see, is somebody being hard loving? Oh, okay, I gotta do this. This never changes. So I'm not reacting to every changing scenario.
It's the reaction that confuses people.
The reaction is what confuses people. And so when we lay a foundation where we have a purpose in it, and we have something that we always come back to, we're always setting consistency, and we're not reacting, or at least we're not reacting groundlessly. If somebody says, why are you saying this to me? You can say, because I believe in this, and this is behind everything I do, this concept, right? So then people can't really argue with you. This is the truth in which I base my life. And so there's that. But there's also a bigger piece to this, and that takes us back to this holding the energy. Because so often what happens is when we set an energetic intent like this, what we find is people shift dramatically even without words, right? Because we just hold this energy. My space has a boundary, and my boundary is about love, and people don't cross it after a while. After a while, that's what happens. Is that we create, and because this is in our energy intent, that's what happens, right? No matter what we're experiencing, we are always needing love. It boils down to we are needing love. So if I'm sitting here and I'm feeling, a certain emotion towards somebody or something that's negative, underlying it is an insecurity, and the insecurity becomes filled with love. That is our only need. Our only true need is to love and to be loved. Now, love comes in all physical forms. Love is food. If I have enough food, and I can receive good, healthy food and maybe share it with other people, right? I am receiving love. Look at how many people in our world don't have enough food. Like, everything is love. Everything has the potential to be love, right? So the example we used, I think, a couple weeks ago or a couple talks ago, or maybe I just did it recently in a different workshop, I can't remember, is I said to people, if I have a loaf of bread in my freezer and I take it out and it's frozen hard and I wing it at your head, or I take it out and I toast it and put some nice jam and everything on it, we sit and eat it, it's still a loaf of bread. It's what I've done with it that makes it work or not work, right? So it's always coming back to love. I love being simple and repetitive because I keep saying to people, talk to God, and it's about love. And love never causes harm, and that's all I have to say over and over and over again, right? And I love that because the answers are all in that, and it's 4 sentences long or 5 sentences long. This is what we are. In order to evolve and heal, this is what we have to do. So I wanted to bring us back to belief systems now, because this is a large topic that we really need to go with. And we started by saying thoughts are powerful, and our belief systems can be the things that get in our way. And they can get in our way of healing. Where this becomes really, really vital, and what I have seen in healing, is when we hold a belief system that is not in alignment with truth, and we put that belief system into source, which is the source of healing, and onto source, or onto God, or onto the universe. That belief system that is untrue doesn't change what the source is, but it changes our ability to access its healing ability. And we're the ones in the way, not it. The universe is always wanting us to choose lovingly. And it's always offering us.
But it's up to us to
opportunity.
make those choices.
We're co-creators. Yeah, it's up to us to make those choices. It's up to us to help the universe along, right? It's like that joke. Somebody told me a joke one time about the Irishman that kept buying the lottery, kept saying, I want to win the lottery, God. And finally, after 3 weeks, it was like, yeah, could you meet me halfway and buy a ticket? We need to buy our tickets, right? Or that other joke is about the guy being on the roof in a flood, right?
Yeah.
God sent you a boat, or sent you a helicopter, and you didn't take it, right? So we have to do our part. This is a relationship. Love is a relationship. So now that I know what the universe wants for me, it wants to meet all my needs, it wants to love me, it wants to include everything around me because it created it all. It never wants to harm me. I know that about the universe. Guess who else I know it about? I know that about me because I was made out of that. So this is what we both are. So by me aspiring to do this, I'm helping to make the universe part way, right? And so it's a relationship. And it becomes about both of us co-creating love here for all things, right? Which includes for me and the people who love me by my choices, right? So I take very, very good care of my health and my body because I love many people, and I love my work, and I love my relationship with Source, and many people love me, and I want to take care of myself.
so that I can be engaged with them in what I need to do and have these wonderful experiences. So it's about taking care of myself is about that, right? It's about this co-creation of love. So we need to make sure that our belief systems are not formed out of cognitive dissonance that allows us to alter truth to suit our perceived needs instead of applying truth to fill our true needs. It's a difference. It's a very large difference then, right? So we want to stand in the foundational truth and hold belief systems up to them, and if our belief systems fit with this, keep them. If our belief systems don't fit with this, we need to discard them or change them so they do. So the new consciousness is the understanding that this is what we're here for and this is what we're co-creating. Right now we have a lot of belief systems about the new consciousness itself. A lot of people think 2012 the world's going to blow up or whatever. There's all this kind of different types of thoughts about it. And we need to be aligning our thoughts into the truth of what the new consciousness is and be putting energy into that, because we will help it come about faster when we do. When we understand that we're going into a new phase whereby we're going to co-create a world that looks like this. Look at our world right now. Look how many people don't have a roof over their heads, and how many people don't have food, and how many problems we have, how many people are ill, and how many, all these kinds of things that just seem so overwhelming. But when we start having a foundation, just like for our boundaries, about how we're going to create a world, our solutions have a foundation that make them easier to implement.